Now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Riskin versus Robinson. Step forward.
26-year-old Noah Riskin is suing his ex-girlfriend, 22-year-old Lindsay Robinson, for her share of a backpacking trip through Europe. Lindsay claims the trip was a gift.
Mr. Riskin, Miss Robinson used to be your girlfriend.
Correct.
And it is your claim that you took a backpacking trip to Europe.
Yes.
And you advanced some money for Miss Robinson, who was supposed to pay you back.
Correct.
Miss Robinson says the trip was a treat, your treat, and there was never any discussion about paying you back for the trip. And she is counterclaiming. She alleges you have some property of hers, a baby book, and she wants some punitive damages because she says you are stalking her. How long were you a couple?
For 7 months.
From when to when?
From mid-June, I believe it was, up until Valentine's Day.
And when was the trip?
We left on January 20th, returned February 19th.
So you were really a couple from June until January, because when I understand from reading your papers that when you took this trip, you each went your own way for a good part of the trip. You traveled independently. It wasn't a romantic getaway for the two of you, right?
Correct.
You didn't live together, did you?
We did.
You were living together?
Yes.
You had enough of each other from June to January. You wanted to be a little separated?
My intention of going to England and Scotland was to backpack, to go as many places as I could. Lindsay told me that she wanted to get a feel for life out there and stay in York for a week or two.
Wonderful. Terrific. How come you advanced the money?
Lindsay came up to me after the tickets were purchased, said that she had talked to some friends of her back home, and they told her that she needed roughly $1,000 American dollars per week, conversion rate being about 51 cents per pound. I'm sorry, $1 per 51 pence.
Please, let's move on.
She did not have that money. I offered a loan.
I asked you what was said. Don't say I said to her, I will give you a loan. I want to hear what was said by her and what was said by you. Do you understand? And if it doesn't sound right, it's usually not true, Mr. Riskin. You get it?
I did.
Good.
So I went ahead and loaned her the $2,500.
Okay, Miss Robinson, since he can't get it together, I want you to tell me how it came about that you, A, took money from him for the tickets, and B, took money from him for spending. I think it was $2,500.
Yes.
Tell me how it came about.
He told me he was going. I told him I couldn't go with him. He asked me to go. I said I don't.
I want you to keep your voice up and speak slowly so that I can hear you.
Okay. He said he was going to Europe on a backpacking trip. I said, I can't go with you. I was going to use the month to move out anyway. He said, go with me, go with me.
You were going to use the what? I don't hear you. Okay, Miss Robinson, I want you to tell me how it came about that you took money from him for the tickets and took money from him for spending.
The month that he was going, I said I'm going to move out and see where it goes from there. So
Look at me.
I told him to let me know when he bought the tickets and I would make a decision because he kept asking and asking. So when I called him, he said he bought 2 tickets. I'd said no, and he bought the ticket anyway. As far as money goes, I told him, well, I still don't have the money to go, and he offered to give me money for that, too. We went to the bank together. He deposited it into my account.
What's wrong with you?
I listened to him, I guess.
No, you didn't listen to him, I guess. If you were not happy with him and if you were moving out, why did you take all that money from him?
Because...
Because why?
Because I thought he was doing a nice thing. He told me it was going to be a gift, and I believed him. And he told me he didn't want the money back.
That's not my question to you. I'm talking about being a moral person. Let's say I believe you, which I'm not sure I do. Let's say I believe you. Why would you, since you knew that he was anxious for you to go, since you knew that he was anxious for you, perhaps not to break up this relationship that you had had for 7 months, why would you, knowing what you knew, take money from him? Because as soon as you came back, you broke up, right? Right?
Before we got back, we broke up.
Well, before, but you already got yourself there on his ticket, and you already had $2,500 of his money.
Yeah.
Well, that's wrong.
I know. I know. I thought it was something that it wasn't, and I should have listened to my gut. I thought we had an understanding, and we didn't.
What kind of understanding?
We discussed it before, and we had the understanding that it wasn't going to be romantic, that we were both going to go our separate ways, and that it was a gift. Because I told him I couldn't go over and over, and he insisted that he wanted to do something nice for me. He called my dad and told him about it. He told my best friends about it. Knowing that we would break up, he told them that. And so I thought we had an understanding.
I want to tell you something. If it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. What nice thing had you done for him?
I don't know. I was with him. I mean...
Well, he was with you. You
exactly.
mean that's a gift that you were with him?
We just had...
What kind of spectacular thing do you have that other people don't have?
Nothing.
Huh?
Nothing.
Nothing. I didn't think so. I mean, what do you bring to the table that millions of other people don't bring? Why in the world would you think that he would invest a whole bunch of money in taking you away if he didn't think that by doing that, perhaps you could rekindle your relationship?
That's what he did think. I know it is.
Then you did the wrong thing by taking it, knowing that it wasn't going to work.
I didn't... Okay.
How much was the ticket?
The ticket was $531.
And how much cash did you give her?
$2,500.
Okay. Forget the incidentals. You're lucky we're going where we're going. Do you understand? I'm going to hear your counterclaim. And I must tell you, Miss Robinson, I have other things to do today. You want your baby book back?
I want my... Yes.
Why did you take her baby book?
The baby book was actually left. When she had moved out, she left everything that she did not want. A number of magazines, old shoes, etc. that she did not want. She just left them for me to clean up. I found them, and I did notify her that I had these items. She has not made any effort to pick them up for me, to send anyone to pick them up. I still have them.
What are they?
A baby book and a childhood photo album that I saved from the trash pile.
Why did you leave them?
That's not true. First of all, I got home and all my stuff was on the porch the same night we got back. He locked me out so that I couldn't get in and took my key. Everything that was on the porch, I took. Everything that wasn't mine, like the magazines, I left there, yeah, because he threw it all on the porch. So
On what date?
that would be the 19th, the night of the 19th, the night we got back.
What else?
He basically, after the breakup, I don't know what happened, but he became very different. He would show up at my work at least twice a week. And
Yes? And what?
And just hover around. He would pull friends out of work and tell them about everything that happened between us, and...
Well, get over it. You owe him $3,031. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I'm very happy. Obviously, the money isn't going to anything except back to the credit card.
I'm really just glad it's over. It's something I put behind me now, so it's good.
Cynthia Aseltine and her daughter, 19-year-old Danielle Ireland, are suing Cynthia's former landlord, Sidney Neese, for the return of a security deposit, moving expenses, and damages from an assault.
All rise. Now it's case number 40 on the calendar in the matter of Aseltine Ireland versus Nice. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Who is Miss Ireland?
I'm Miss Ireland.
Aselton?
Aseltine is my mother.
Miss Aseltine, according to your complaint, you, not your daughter, but you, rented a room from the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
And you found that room on something on the internet called Craigslist
Yes, ma'am.
and signed a month-to-month lease.
I did.
When did you sign that?
March 1st, 2007.
Where had you been living before that?
I was residing in an apartment which I shared with my daughter, and she decided to move out on her own and get her own apartment. So I thought it would be good for me to move into a place where I could save a little money, maybe meet some new people, until I was able to purchase my own home.
How long had you been renting rooms?
I've been renting rooms for about 4 years.
What kind of property do you have?
I have a home in Elk Grove, California,
How many bedrooms?
5 bedrooms.
How many tenants do you have?
Currently 1,
How many tenants did you have when you had Miss Aseltine?
just myself and Cindy.
And it was a month-to-month tenancy.
It was.
It is your claim that Miss Neese terminated your tenancy without proper notice, and you want moving expenses, your security deposit back, and you want damages because she, you claim, assaulted both you and your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Neese says that you are not entitled to your security deposit back because you promised that you were going to stay through April, and you didn't. It is her claim that you actually assaulted her. So let's find out when the trouble began. You moved in March 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
About approximately a week after I moved in, I noticed some strange behavior from Miss Neese. When I was in the home alone, and especially when I had company over, I would notice some outbursts. Seems she was talking to herself, kind of laughing out loud. She'd walk through the home when I'd have company over and bang anything that would make noise, opening and closing compulsively the garage door. The washer was close to my room, so she'd slam the washer door up and down.
Got it. let's move on.
Okay. And I became just really uncomfortable in the home. I'd find myself, I'd sign up for overtime, I'd go to the gym, anything to avoid coming home because her behavior was really disturbing, uncomfortable. And so I noticed that it became more obvious when I had company over, so I decided to talk to her about it. So maybe I was doing something wrong. And so I came home, and so I knocked on her door. She didn't answer, so that's when I called her cell phone, and I found that she was actually at home in her room. And she came out, and I had a conversation with her, and I said, is there something bothering you, lately? Because I've noticed that you've been slamming things around, banging things. And her response was, bang? I don't bang. I don't bang anything. I said, oh, okay. Well, apparently, when my boyfriend's over, does he make you uncomfortable? No, I don't have a problem with your boyfriend. And I said, well, one night he spent the night here, and it seemed that you were really uncomfortable with that, and that's when I noticed the most noise. She goes, well, I didn't even know he spent the night. And she goes, well, it's in your lease agreement that you can't have any overnight guests. I said, well, I didn't notice that in my lease agreement. I apologize.
Was it in your lease agreement?
It was, ma'am, in my lease agreement.
Okay.
And I said, I respect that. And I said, well, that's something that I'm not sure if I can live with. I apologize. I overlooked that. And I said, if you feel real strong about that, then I think I might have to make a decision to move out. And I would go ahead and give you proper 30-day notice. And she goes, okay, well, that's fine.
Fine. What day was that? That was in
Okay,
March?
that was, yes, the 19th of March. I sent her a copy, certified mail, which she...
May I see it, please?
Absolutely. That was sent regular mail as well as certified mail, which I have a receipt there. Ms. Neese never picked up the certified copy.
Okay, and you received this letter terminating
Yes.
her tenancy?
Yes, I have
Fine.
it right here.
Good. So what happened?
Okay,
What was
so
next?
things were a little still uncomfortable in the house, so I decided to avoid her as much as possible. About a week after giving that notice to her, I came home and found that she was interviewing another tenant, which I gave her the privacy. I had went and cleaned up and got ready to go back out again.
I haven't
She
even
then,
heard you.
she then,
You have a turn.
Okay.
Right now, plaintiff is talking.
Okay.
Go ahead.
after I had finished and cleaned up and the person had left, she had come and spoke with me and said, okay, well, when are you going to be moving your furniture out? I understand, I received your 30-day notice. And I go, well, I can start putting it in storage soon if you really need the space, because she was saying that she wanted to offer that space to the tenant. She goes, well, that's your right to keep it there for the remainder of the month. And, things seemed to be okay then, but she's still exhibiting some behaviors that I just didn't feel that.
I understand. You were moving out for a reason. Keep going.
Absolutely. And so I had received a phone call on March 31st. I was at the gym, and I received a message from Miss Neese. And on the message, she says that she's demanding that she have a face-to-face meeting with me and discuss the 30-day notice agreement and finalize me moving out. And so I was kind of, I didn't understand.
Just tell me what happened.
Okay, so I called her up, and I said, I got your message. What's the deal with me having to come over? And she goes, well, I want you to speak to me face-to-face. I gave you the same respect when you gave me your 30-day notice. And I said, well, I really don't want to have any confrontation with you. You're making me feel really uncomfortable and threatened. She goes, well, if you do not come home right now, I'm going to lock you out. And I said, you can't lock me out. And she goes, I'm telling you, if you don't come home right now, I'm going to lock you out. At that point, she disconnected the phone call. Me and my boyfriend were at the gym. I said, come on with me. She's threatening to lock me out. I need to go home. When we got there, me and my boyfriend entered the home, and Miss Neese was in the kitchen. She had already taken all my groceries out of the fridge and out of the cupboard and had set them up on the counter as if she was moving me out. I said, what are you doing? Please put my things back. You can't move me out. What's the problem? And at that point, she came around the counter of the kitchen with her finger in my face, and she goes, girl, you better shut your mouth, because in the name of Jesus, I'm going to smack the devil out of you. At that point, my boyfriend placed his body in between us because she was this close in my face, and he's that face to me, and he's like trying to block her. And she turned around, and she swung about backside of him and hit me upside the head. At that point, I grabbed my cell phone. She grabbed her cell phone. I called the police. She called 911. The police arrived, a female police officer. Police officer went and spoke to Miss Neese. Miss Neese had stated that she was going to be locking me out of the house, and the officer had stated, legally, ma'am, you cannot lock her out of the house. And she goes, don't you tell me how to run my household.
Can I see the police report, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She comes up behind me and then kind of hits me. And then Miss Neese turned around to my mom, and she goes to make a fist like she was going to strike my mom, and I grabbed her arm and I put it down and I said, don't touch my mom.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cynthia Aseltine and daughter Danielle Ireland claim Cynthia's former landlord, Sidney Neese, is guilty of an assault. Sidney claims it was the plaintiffs who assaulted her.
Now, When did the incident happen with your daughter?
Same day.
Same day?
It was a little bit later on that day when I had came. The police officers had actually left at a certain point, and my mother had called my boyfriend and I to show up. She had to go and get a U-Haul to get all of her things, and we both ended up showing up at the exact same time as my mom with the U-Haul, and that's when I arrived.
And what happened with Miss Neese?
Well, we came into the house, and she was in her bedroom, had shut the door, and was in her bedroom, like the police officer told her to stay in the room. I went into this little front area that was right next to her bedroom door and started to grab furniture. And I grabbed this big glass top that was to one of my mom's coffee tables, and I started going out. And then Miss Neese came out of her room and was really mad and angry, and was directing a lot of anger at myself and at Ryan, saying that he didn't have any right to be in the house, and that was saying something about how we couldn't go through the garage door. She was telling us we had to go through the front door for some reason, and I was standing on my way to the garage door. She was really like livid and saying that we couldn't be in our house, that we had no right to be in there, and then she comes up behind me and grabs me by the back of my neck and like kind of pushes me and then kind of hits me. And then Miss Neese turned around to my mom and starts getting in her face, and she's throwing her hands wildly and stuff, and then she goes to make a fist like she was going to strike my mom, and I grabbed her arm and I put it down and I said, "Don't touch my mom." And then it just turned into a scuffle where she was just being really wild.
Okay, Miss Neese,
Yes.
I would like you first to tell me your version of the events of the 31st of March.
Okay, Saturday, March 31st, I initiated a call to Cindy to finalize things in the matter. She had sent me a letter March 20th indicating that she was going to move out at the end of April. And so I wanted to finalize things as far as obtaining the rent for April.
She already told you that she was going to give you the rent April 3rd in the letter.
Right. In my lease, it indicates, in the initial agreement that we signed, it indicates that if any rent is not paid time or in full, that they will forfeit the security. That's in item number 2 in our
What
lease.
difference does that make? She already said, "I'll pay you your rent on April 3rd. It's in her letter that she sent to you.
Because I just like to do things decently and in order, so...
This is decently and in order. You called her on her cell phone.
Yeah, I called her on Saturday and I asked, because she had initiated an appointment in mid-March. She wanted to see if her boyfriend could stay overnight, and she knocked on my door. Actually, I was napping, and she knocked on my door until...
Shh, don't interrupt her. I'm just asking you what you told her on March 31st. You called her, she's at the gym.
On March 31st, I asked her if she had any time in the afternoon. I said I'd appreciate if we could finalize things and, you know, get the rent. So then she started cursing at me, and she started getting really violent on the phone and calling me up.
Did you tell her she had to come home or else you were going to change the locks?
No, absolutely not.
Did you take her food out of the refrigerator? I'm speaking.
No, I didn't actually.
Did you take her food out of the refrigerator and place it on the counter?
No, not...
Did you tell the police when they arrived that you were planning on changing the locks and locking her out?
When she started cursing at me on the phone, because she, by the way, she's been pretty violent before, so when she came home from the gym, she came home and she kicked me, which I have a photo of the bruise on my leg from when she kicked me then. At that point, I had called the police, and because I had wanted to have her arrested. So when they came over, they kind of separated us, got both versions of what had happened. And so I didn't have her arrested at that point.
The police found you very agitated, Ms. Neese. According to all 3 police officers who arrived at the scene...
Well, she assaulted me. I have pictures. She admitted biting me on the arm.
There was an altercation. There's no question there was an altercation.
Well, I actually didn't touch her or her daughter. Both of them came home. She called her daughter, and they both came in, and then they assaulted me in my room. And that's why I had called the police a second time. When I was on the phone with the police, I was terrified. They said, "Where are you?" I said, "I locked myself in my room because I was afraid they were going to come in again." I have pictures of the door and from when they tried to barge in my door, and I have pictures of all the bruises. They hit me.
What do you do for a living, Ms. Neese?
I'm an insurance broker.
For a company?
For myself. I have my own agency, and I'm going to school for court reporting.
So you operate out of your home or out of an office?
I'm usually on the road, but my office is out of my home, yes.
So you don't have an office other than at your home?
Correct.
And how long have you been doing that?
5 years.
Make a living at that?
Yes.
The last time you had a tenant prior to the plaintiff, what was that tenant's name?
Prior to Cynthia? She was the first tenant in that home.
So you'd never had a tenant?
Not in this home. When I was in the Bay Area, I've had tenants. She was the first tenant in this home.
Judge, I have some information regarding the tenants in the Bay Area. San Mateo County Courts, there's 3 claims regarding Ms. Niece in regards to tenant-landlord. 2 times she was the defendant, and 1 she was a plaintiff regarding the same situation, withholding deposits
Can I see
and so
that?
forth. Actually, I didn't print it out, but if you go to San Mateo County Courts, it is public record.
You had 3 landlord and tenant actions while you were there. One is a plaintiff and one is a defendant.
I'm not sure what she's referring to, but it was just probably a lack of, my income. But with regard to
No,
this...
I'm not talking about, I'm asking you whether you had 3 previous landlord and tenant actions.
I think there was one, and it was just because I was having problems, with cash flow, but they have since been paid back.
One was that she put a stop pay on a deposit as a tenant herself.
That sound familiar?
I'm not sure what she's referring to, but I would appreciate if we could talk about this case today and why, I don't believe that I owe her this security deposit.
You absolutely owe her the security deposit. There's no question that you owe her the security deposit.
Okay.
You told her to leave. I've read the police report. You said you wanted her out that day. She left. She did not stay the month of April, despite the fact that she said she was planning on paying April's rent. You absolutely owe her the security deposit. There's no question about that.
Well, because she assaulted me, and I had to put out expense. She didn't return the key when she moved out.
I believe that this was an unfortunate circumstance, that everybody's tempers got very flared up.
Actually,
on that.
mine did not.
Well, not according
And
to
I
the
was
Miss Niece. According to the
I
police,
was
the only
blatantly assaulted by her and her
Miss
daughter,
Niece,
and her boyfriend had
I'm
to pull
telling
them
you,
off of me.
and the police department.
when
I'm
she
speaking.
moved
When I'm
out-
speaking, don't speak.
Okay.
Clearly, not only did you claim that they were assaultive, you
I have
also. I'm
photographs of all
speaking.
the
I'm
assaults.
speaking. Do you hear me speaking? You also claim conspiratorial behavior on the part of the police. You weren't satisfied with the police officer who came. You demanded their supervisor. 2 supervisors arrived. They couldn't calm you down. You demanded their supervisor. So everybody is in a conspiracy against you. There's something not right, Miss Niece. All of that is clearly contained in the police report. I assume you have a copy of it.
The copy that I obtained from them does not contain that information. That's not what they had given me. They
May
gave
not
me
be what
one
they
line.
gave you, but that's what I have.
Okay, can I show you the pictures of my bruise?
Absolutely.
And actually, I still have them on my body.
Absolutely. Show me.
This is a picture of when she bit me in the arm.
She absolutely acknowledges that she
And
bit you in the
then,
arm, and she
a
says she bit
bruise
you.
on my
I'm
breast.
speaking. Don't you want to hear me speaking? She absolutely acknowledges that she bit you in the arm so that you would let her go.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Okay, can I tell my version of the story, ma'am?
When I contact the police
Up,
department.
up, don't.
What had transpired, basically, the whole issue, when she first, in the initial ad, I indicated no alcohol, no overnight guests, and she breached both of those. She was drinking a lot while she was there, and she was having overnight guests, her boyfriend. And I never even said anything because I didn't want to get into any confrontation. But then she mentioned she talked to me that one day, and I said, no overnight guests. Are you okay with that?
So she gave you
said,
notice.
yes.
Listen, I got it. I have other things to do today. She said, I'm moving. She sent you an appropriate notice that she's moving. Move on with it. Get to the 31st.
Right, but then she didn't pay the rent, and so I wanted to...
No. She has no obligation to pay the rent on March 31st. None. And if you demanded that she come home from the gym...
I didn't demand that she came home. I called her on the cell phone, and I said, do you have any time this afternoon? What's your availability?
I don't think you should have roommates. I don't think you should rent rooms to anybody. I don't. I think that you are a very, very nice lady who clearly should live alone, not with anybody else, because you can't make rules for adults. I mean, she's an adult lady. She's not a teenager. You didn't rent to a teenager. And if you don't like other people living in your house because other people aren't going to do things the way you do...
Well, it's not that I want to do things the way I want to do. But when I rented
a room,
they said no overnight guests. When
absolutely
I rented, they
right.
set their
And she said I didn't.
and I honored them. So if she didn't want to...
Do you take medication? Do you take medication?
No, ma'am.
You should. Because I've already told you 4 times, this is the 4th time, that when I start to speak, you have to stop.
Okay.
You can't. That's something that's not working right. You owe her security deposit, which was how much?
It's $500.
Did either of you seek any medical treatment for your injuries?
No,
yes, I did.
I'm not talking about you. Now, where did you move when you moved?
I was actually homeless for 8 days. I was allowed to stay at my My boyfriend does roommate with another roommate, and he was
fine.
out of town.
That's fine. Don't make up things as we go along. You weren't homeless because you were able to sleep someplace.
Well, yes. I mean, I was without a permanent...
Fine, and then you found someplace.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Whole thing is very, very unfortunate. Really, very unfortunate. You want to say anything to me? No. You want your security deposit back?
Absolutely.
You got it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Why does that excuse you? Make step out.
I was blatantly assaulted by her. I think it's really sad that, you know, she got away with it.
It was just humiliating, and I had my daughter there, and then something I didn't want her to ever have to go through.
Is suing her mother-in-law, Rose Marmoleo, for making a false report to Child Protective Services. Kim claims Rose accused her of child endangerment.
All rise. It's case number 41 on the calendar in the matter of Peterson versus Marmolejo. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
Miss Peterson, the defendant is your former mother-in-law.
Correct.
You were married to her son for how long?
6 years.
And he, according to what I've read, died suddenly.
Yes.
When did he pass away?
July 5th, 2005.
And what was the cause of death?
It's a cerebral hemorrhage, but the cause of that, the underlying cause was drug abuse.
No, it was not. I have a copy of
Your
that,
Honor.
Your Honor.
I wasn't asking you anything.
I understand.
It is your claim that the defendant called in a report to Child Protective Services
Yes.
against you. It was false,
Yes.
and you want to be compensated.
Correct.
The defendant says that she never placed that call, and you seem to indicate that you are going to be able to prove to me that
Yes.
she did. She also complains that she no longer sees her grandson, despite the fact that there was a time when she did see him regularly. Okay. When did you find out that a call was placed to Child Protective Services?
It was March of 2007, March 1st, actually. It was called in 228.
22807.
Yes.
And how did you find out that this call was placed?
The worker put the note in my doorway.
And asked you to call?
Yes.
And you did?
Yes.
Was there an investigation?
Yes.
Do you have the results of that investigation?
Yes, I do. Unsubstantiated.
Now, Ms. Marmoleo, you did not call Child Protective Services?
Absolutely not, Your Honor.
Okay, and you know nothing about how Child Protective Services was contacted?
Yes, I do. Patrick called me.
Just a second.
Okay.
Patrick is your grandson?
No, Patrick is witness on Kim's side.
Who is this?
That's my boyfriend.
Okay. The boyfriend called you and
told me, forget taking Dante to school tomorrow. He said, we have a DCF appointment. He said, you and one of your old cronies probably called DCF. I knew nothing about it, so help me God. I went to school the next day.
What are you doing at child's school?
I have volunteered at all the schools for many, many years, besides my work.
Okay, go ahead.
So I went to school to see the principal, and I asked her, I said, what's the situation? I heard from Patrick.
You cannot tell me what the principal told you.
All right. She said...
You can't... What words
I'm
did
sorry.
you understand? You cannot tell me what the principal said to you.
I found out that the school
You can't tell me what you found out.
That's how I found
hearsay.
out, though. I did not call.
You did not call.
I did email.
You did not, just a second, you did not call, is
No,
what you
I did
said.
not.
And you had no knowledge of it until the plaintiff's boyfriend called you and said, you're not taking the child to school anymore because of you, we have an appointment with Protective Services.
Your
Now,
Honor.
This is dated March 21st. They are closing the investigation because the allegations were unsubstantiated.
Correct.
Do you have what the allegations were?
I have the report where it says clearly that she had called. And
I'd like to
sent
see
email.
that. That's very important.
And
That's an email from my...
that's the reports from DCF.
Investigation protocol. Well, it is perfectly clear that you called the worker.
Absolutely.
You're perfectly clear that you called the worker and made this report.
I did not call DCF initially. I swear to you I did not.
I don't care whether you called initially. It says that you called them.
I called
March 2nd.
after the fact because I was being blamed by Patrick, and I wanted to be sure to clear myself. I also wanted to tell the person
We
at
need
DCF,
help and quick.
Yes.
Before that woman takes the child away again.
Absolutely.
I'm speaking.
She had done that before.
That has nothing to do with
Dante
you.
was frightened to me. He cried twice. I swear to you, Your Honor. May I tell you the story?
Just a second. First of all, you can't lie to me.
I'm not lying.
Well, you did.
Absolutely
You did. You
not.
absolutely did.
I did not make the initial call, Your Honor.
I didn't use the word initial.
I did call
Listen
this-
to me. I didn't use the word initial.
Well,
I said, did you call Child Protective Services? You said no. And it's clear to me from reading this exactly what happened. You spoke to the principal, and the principal called, and you followed up with Mr. Haas.
May I
There's no question in my mind that that happened, madam.
Yes.
And there's no question in my mind that it happened because, according to you, your grandson was crying because he said, Mommy's going to move away. And you didn't want him to move away because you've taken over his education, you pay for his school in a private school, and you get to see him regularly. And according to you, which is what you just told me, she had taken him away once before, and you weren't going to have that situation happen again. That's what you said in your email. That's exactly what you said in your email.
If you allow me, I can explain that to you. 2 days prior to the principal calling, Miss Peterson went to the playground and said to the teacher, Dante should be able to call me anytime he wants.
To visit my son.
No, just
sorry.
Listen to me. Listen to me very carefully. You got to keep it together.
I'm sorry.
Say it to me again, just the way you just said it to me.
She said to the teacher, allow Dante to call me anytime he wants.
Absolutely right.
Absolutely. They had no problem
Well,
with
I don't like the way you said it.
That's how she said it.
You understand? I don't like the way you said it. You said it as if she was saying something wrong.
That's how she approached them. Then she went into the office with a handwritten note, Your Honor, saying that Patrick would be the guardian.
That's this gentleman.
Right, that has only been in Dante's life a few months. The school felt that was highly unlikely. I wouldn't shoot myself in the foot and do that because she quickly would take our grandparent rights away, and she's done it in the past. Would you please?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Come back and could you come?
No, just a second.
I want you to hear something.
Just a second. You're not following me. Stop shaking, Miss Peterson. Listen to me. I get it. It's sad and unfortunate, but I get it.
Can I show you one thing, please? Your Honor, down here where Dante was being interviewed by the social worker, it says Dante, and this is alone by himself outside. Dante reported that grandmother Marmolejo does not like his mother. Dante stated that Marmolejo calls his mother stupid and says her butt smells.
I never said such a thing. So
Dante's questioned and all this. Right down the bottom here. Where it says interview with Dante. Well, Dante said it.
I
Miss Peterson, listen to me. Listen to me.
My God,
there is no
lies.
question in my mind that the defendant inspired, precipitated the call to Child Protective Services. You her husband?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Pay careful attention.
You need to say that.
It's not her fault that your son died. You have a grandson that I assume you want to see, and your wife is making all the wrong calls with regard to whether or not you're going to continue to be in your grandson's life. There is no question in my mind that no court will take your grandson away from his mother and turn him over to you. Nobody is going to do that. And listen to me, and the only thing that you and your wife can do is to stay on her good side, which you haven't done. So you better have a really good talk with her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You may be Mother of the Year, you may not be Mother of the Year, but he's your son. And once you give these people an inch, you're going to take a whole yard. Do it until they get it.
And later today.
So you sent them more money?
Yes.
And then he wrecked that car?
Yes, ma'am.
You're just like an accident looking to happen.
Yes, ma'am.
Big goofball.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kim Peterson claims her mother-in-law, Rose Marmolejo, made false accusations to Child Protective Services. Rose says Kim is keeping her from seeing her grandson.
Now, when one parent dies and the other parent is left and hooks up with somebody new, that's an irritant. And she's allowed to say, pay careful attention to me. She's the mother. She is allowed to say, if there's an emergency, you call my boyfriend who will come and take care of my child. You may not like it. That's too bad. She's the mother. She's
everything the way it occurred, Your Honor.
Hey, listen to me. You just said to me, you started to tell me the story. I got it. Don't you understand? I've been in this business a long time. You were absolutely furious.
After the school already made the initial call.
Listen to me. Madam, I got you. You were furious that you went into school.
That's not true.
You just told me.
I was not furious, Your Honor.
You were furious
not
that you went into
never
school
would say you feel that way.
and changed the guardian to him. That's what you just told me.
That's why the school got upset. They did. I did not. Would you please stop?
Absolutely, positively not. School doesn't get upset. School may have said to you, that's strange.
Not true.
But 2 days later, you called up and said, We need help quick. And before that woman takes that child away again, please call me ASAP so we can talk.
Dante
Dr.
cried
Kingston,
about that.
What? That's you.
He cried to me about that, Your Honor. So help me God. He did.
So as a result of that, you spoke to Child Protective Services?
Would you? My husband's on the school board. The principal told him the Thursday after.
Don't tell me what the principal told him at all. It's hearsay. I'm telling you what the official report from Child Protective Services says. Your conversation with them.
That's after.
I don't care if it's after or before.
They made the call initially.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
You have to take control.
I have.
Listen to me. You have to understand something. You allowed her to put your son in a private school where she pays the tuition and she volunteers. First mistake.
You're right. It was a big mistake.
First mistake. He's got to be out of that school, and he's got to be at a place where, if his grandmother wants to see him, there is a specific time that she gets to see him that you control. But you can't take with one hand, which is what you did, and you did it for the sake of your child, I assume, because he was going to a private school that perhaps you couldn't afford. But absolutely a bad idea.
You're absolutely right.
Absolutely a bad idea. She cannot have any control about what happens in your home. And you've given her that control.
Yes.
And you have to take it back if you haven't done it already.
Yeah, well, it's over.
Okay, fine. So he no longer goes to that school.
No.
Perfect. Because if you give them an inch,
I
and
treated her lovingly.
you may be Mother of the Year, you may not be Mother of the Year, but he's your son. And once you give these people an inch, they're going to take a whole yard. Do it until they get it, that you're his mother and that you raise him. They had the opportunity to raise their son, good or bad.
She knows I have always been good to her.
Made mistakes or not make mistakes. Being good is not embroiling him in problems. And I absolutely find that this call was precipitated by you, and it was false, and it was based on the fact that you were afraid she was moving.
Absolutely not.
In the amount of $3,000. That's all. Step out.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I hope this sends a message to other grandparents that might try to do this.
None of this is true. I swear to you.
You can't play with a child's life. You can't do that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Williams versus Bell, step forward.
21-year-old Michelle Williams is suing her ex-boyfriend, Howard Bell, for a series of loans. Michelle says instead of repaying the money, Howard went back to his previous girlfriend.
Miss Williams, this gentleman used to be your boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And unfortunately for you, you gave him a whole bunch of money. You say that you made loans to him for that money. Mr. Bell says, while he acknowledges that you gave him money, he says it's just that. You gave him money, it was a gift, there was never any agreement that he would pay you back, right?
Yes, ma'am.
How much money did you give her, Mr. Bells?
Before I left to go to Michigan, before she gave me any money, I gave her like $125.
What'd you give her that money for, sir?
Because she gave me cigarettes and stuff while I wasn't working.
So she supported you when you weren't working?
Yes, ma'am.
Fed you?
No. My aunt fed me.
Your aunt fed you. She just bought you cigarettes.
Yes, ma'am.
Shouldn't smoke, sir. It's not good for you. So you gave her $120 to pay her back?
Yes, ma'am.
For money that she spent on you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But you didn't give her any money just for nothing?
No, ma'am.
But she gave you money just for nothing?
Yes, ma'am.
Why do you think she did that?
She didn't give it to me for no reason.
Well, what was the reason?
To get my car out of impound so I could be with her.
What else did she give you money for?
She would call me like 3 times a day and ask me how much money I needed, if I needed more money or whatever. And I'd be like, just whatever you want to do. And she kept sending it.
So how much money did you give him in total, Miss Williams?
I think the exact amount was $1,892.
But who's counting, right? And you just kept giving him the money.
It started out as he just wanted enough to get his car to impound. And he'd call me the next day and say that it wasn't enough, he needed a little bit more, and that went on for about 3 days. Finally, when he did get the car out of impound, he ended up wrecking it.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
At least he's polite. Go ahead.
And he called me and said that he was going to try and find another car, but he'd need to borrow the money to get it. And when he did get it, he would put it in my name when he got back up here. So he called me and tells me he found a car for $600, and he'd like me to send him that money plus another $50 for gas so he can get it up here. And he was going to have to put it in his name till he got here, and then he would put it in my name.
So you sent him more money?
Yes.
And then he wrecked that car?
Yes, ma'am.
You're just like an accident looking to happen.
Yes, ma'am.
Like a big goofball.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now Mr. Bells is going to move over to the plaintiff's chair because he has a case against your sister. Oh, and this I'm really anxious to hear.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michelle Williams is suing her ex-boyfriend, Howard Bell, for a series of loans. Michelle says instead of repaying the money, Howard went back to his previous girlfriend.
Okay. Now, he couldn't put the car in your name because he wrecked it.
Yeah, well, he didn't want to tell me that he wrecked the car, so he didn't call me, didn't answer anything, and he finally shows up a week later and tells me he bought a car with his money, and he was going to put that in my name when he got up here after he fixed it.
And what happened with that car?
I wrecked it.
Miss Williams, you sent him a whole lot of money, and it's money down sewer. But I don't believe that there were loans. I believe you just took off, and then you said, I gave him all this money because I thought he was going to come here and move in with me. We were going to be a family. That was the intention.
Yes, ma'am. I have text messages on my phone where she said that she would drop the case if I would just come back and be with her. And,
those were not sent from me.
I've got text messages from her phone where she threatened to kill herself, told me that she was in the hospital for overdosing on Xanaxes and all types of other stuff.
Listen, did you take advantage of somebody who you shouldn't have?
Nope.
Yes, you did. You took advantage of them. That doesn't make it a loan. You took advantage of them. You're not supposed to do that, sir. If you take advantage of somebody who is needy and maybe not stable, that makes you not a nice person. Even if you say ma'am 40 times. Miss Williams, while I'm sympathetic with your plight, I am unsympathetic with the fact that you created a contract with Mr. Bells because I don't think that you created a contract that is legally enforceable anywhere, and you know it. So your case is dismissed. Now, we're going to take care of Mr. Bells' other case. Now Mr. Bells is going to move over to the plaintiff's chair because he has a case against your sister. Oh, and this I'm really anxious to hear. Now, Mr. Bells, you finally got another car.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of car did you get?
I've had 17 since November.
Well, what kind of car is that we're talking about in this case, sir?
A 97 Pontiac Sunfire.
And it is your claim that the defendant, who is the sister of the former plaintiff, took a baseball bat to your car.
Yes, ma'am.
After you ditched her sister.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm all broken up about that, Mr. Bell. Can you tell? I'm going to allow you to tell me what happened, sir.
Michelle sent me a text message to tell me to come and talk to her.
Who's Michelle?
The defendant's sister. So I came up to her job to talk to her about what was going on and everything, and as soon as we pulled in the parking lot...
Who's we?
Me and Annette.
Who's Annette?
My girlfriend.
That's your current girlfriend?
She's always been my girlfriend.
Does she give you money, too?
No, ma'am.
You give her money?
Yes, ma'am.
So you had current girlfriend when you were taking money from Miss Williams. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's really nasty, Mr. Bell. Does your mother like him?
No.
You know why? I just knew that. 10 years from now, you won't like him either. You have children with him?
No.
Don't make any.
I can't have children anyway.
That's what they all say.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to JudgeJudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
So you pulled into the parking lot with your girlfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
Because Michelle wanted to speak to you, so you thought it would be nice to bring your girlfriend along.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
What happened was I came to Illinois that week. I had court on April 23rd, so I was coming to my court date. And when Michelle told me to come up there, me and Annette, we came up there to talk to her. And she said that she only wanted to talk to me, not Annette. So I was the only one that could come in where she worked at. So as soon as I pulled in the parking lot...
That's understandable, Mr. Bell.
Yes, ma'am. And as soon as I pulled in the parking lot, Beth and some other girl, I don't know who the other girl was, were all standing in the parking lot, and Beth threw a baseball bat at my car.
Ah! I am absolutely despondent. Did you do that, Beth?
No, ma'am.
No, she didn't.
I had the replacement.
Why would she do that? Why would she throw a baseball bat at this 1997 Pontiac? Do you still have it?
Yes, ma'am.
The Pontiac?
Yes, ma'am.
With the dent in it?
Yes, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
You haven't wrecked it yet?
No, ma'am.
You will. And then you will hardly even remember this dent that she says she didn't put in your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Goodbye, sir. Have a happy life. Your case is dismissed. It's over. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Back to your right.
And on the next Judge Judy.
Brent was on the hood of the car. Nick was standing in front of the car trying to kick the headlight.
This is completely false and erroneous.
Yeah. No, you're erroneous.
Next Judge Judy.
Open up utility accounts in your name.
It was actually when I was at school at Eastern Kentucky University when I allowed her to open gas and electric in my name.
When you were at school, you were not living with her?
No.
So you had already spent time in her house?
Yes.
So you had spent about a year in her house?
No, it was about 3 months.
That's not true.
How long was it?
She moved in February of 2006. Remainder of her senior year of high school, stayed the whole summer at my house.
Okay.
Also went to EKU, and I picked her up every weekend, every Friday.
But it was while you were at school that she opened the accounts with your permission in your name. Put that folder down, please. And it is your claim that two things. A, that she didn't pay those bills. And second, that she also opened up a cable account using your name, and that you did not give her permission to open.
No, I did not.
And that there is an outstanding bill on that. You want her to take care of all the bills.
Yeah.
Excuse me, that's not true. Again, that's not true.
Just a second. Ms. Ober says, well, she had your permission to open the account. She didn't think that it was a big deal to open up the cable account, and she's counterclaiming because she says you should pay her for all the money she expended while you were living with her on you. So, Ms. Ober, I'm going to deal with that first. You had no contract with Ms. Rubel when she moved in that she was going to compensate you for any money that you gave her. There's no indication in your counterclaim. So in order to have a contract, you have to have an agreement. And you had no agreement with her.
We had a verbal agreement.
No, you didn't. That's absolutely not true. If you had a verbal agreement, you would have said so in your answer. And you would have said so in your counterclaim, that you had an agreement that when she graduated from college or whatever, she was going to pay you back for all the money you laid out for her. You don't mention that at all. You want me to read you what you say?
No. At the end of it, I said she agreed to pay back in payment. I do believe, I thought.
You say, the plaintiff stayed in my home from February 2006 until February of 07. That is not true. That is not true.
She was away at college for 3 months and then moved back into my home. I moved her to college and moved her back home from college to my home.
Was she living with you continuously from February 2006 until February 2007?
No, ma'am.
Okay. She moved into your home because she was staying with her aunt and they had a big fight. Even though Tiffany and her aunt later made up, Tiffany begged and pleaded for me to let her stay with me. I took her to and from school. I moved her down to Kentucky to go to college. I gave her lunch money, paid for her prom dress. Even though my son was a freshman, it was her senior prom. I paid for basically everything. So there was no agreement, because if there was an agreement, you had plenty of paper there to say there was an agreement. So you can't make an agreement where there was none. Now, you want to tell me why you opened up utility accounts in her name?
I have the letter that she took to the CG&E company where she opened it up from the landlord.
Why? Why didn't you open it up?
Because I had outstanding bills that couldn't be paid at that point in time. I didn't have the money. I have 3 children and was getting no child support. My ex-boyfriend and I were arguing. It was a bad environment for her, myself, and my children.
Yes.
We had to get out. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. Had to get out.
Well, just tell me what she said to you and what you said to her.
I got into an argument with my ex-boyfriend. I was crying. There was chaos. The house was tore up from fighting and carrying on, and she came to me crying and said that we can move out of here. I said, I can't get the electric in my name or the cable because I have an outstanding bill. I was working on paying them. I have paid them off. Everything is in my name.
But what about the bills that she's getting now, Miss Ober?
Because she agreed to pay them when we moved out.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
No, she didn't, Miss Ober. I don't even have to ask her that. She said, I'll help you out. If you can't put them in your name, put them in my name.
That's also not true. I didn't offer. She asked me.
That's not true.
Why didn't you pay the bills?
Because I was paying all the bills. I paid the rent, I paid the food, I paid for her clothes, I paid for her to go to a Bengals-Steelers game, I paid for everything under the sun for her. And when I couldn't pay for her to do the things that she wanted to do, go shopping and do all the other things, then she moved out.
Miss Ober, when she was living with you, where was she working?
At Photolab at Kroger's, and then she got a job at a restaurant.
When she was living with you, she was working at Photolab?
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
No, actually it's not. I was working at the Village of Addison in the clerk's office.
I didn't understand a word you just said.
In the Village of Addison for the clerk.
And what were you doing with the money that you were earning?
I paid for a lot of prom, too.
You paid for a lot of prom. What else did you pay for?
I paid for lunch sometimes, and that's probably about it.
And what about the ex-boyfriend? What does he do?
He's in high school.
He's 16 years old.
Okay. Very good. Can I see the bills, please?
Yes.
And when you moved in with Miss Ober, you were in high school?
Yes. Here's everything.
I would like to also say something. Her aunt, when she moved out of her house, received child support from her mother and father for her while she lived in my home.
You should have sued her aunt.
And Tiffany is still on a Medicaid card through Ohio and is not living in Ohio. She lives in Indiana. She works at the BP in Indiana.
Miss Ober, first of all, the second part was vicious. First part of what you just told me was really your fault. If she was living with you and you were supporting her and somebody else was getting support for her from her parents, you should have marched right into family court and said, the support should come to me, not to somebody else.
Well, I'm not going to fight a year and a half to get money that is not going to come to me anyway.
But this money is money that you owe. You owe money for the utilities.
No, she was living in my home. She agreed to pay them.
I don't
with her
believe that for a
part-time job.
second. I don't believe for a second that she agreed to pay them. If she agreed to pay them, she wouldn't have let them build up like this.
It was 2 months of service.
Right. I know that you're accustomed to not paying your bills, but somebody who's just starting out in life is not accustomed to not paying their bills. You know you didn't pay your bills. That's
Yes,
why
I
you
do.
couldn't put the utilities on in your name.
Because I had an ex-boyfriend who wouldn't let me get ahead.
Listen to me. It's always somebody else's fault. Is that what you're saying to me?
No, I'm not.
It's the ex-boyfriend's fault. It's her fault. It's the aunt's fault.
No, I tried to contact her aunt to take her back home. She wouldn't talk to me.
It's always somebody else's fault. Is that what you're telling me?
No.
You're a victim. Well, you'll always
I'm
be
a victim of a 19-year-old.
You'll
Yes.
always be a victim. The answer is you didn't pay your bills. Not that your ex-boyfriend didn't let you get ahead. If you're a big enough girl to make 3 children, that's what you have, right? Then you're big enough to get away from an ex-boyfriend who wouldn't
I
let you
did.
get ahead. Not soon enough to pay your bills.
You know, I took her in the kindness of my heart. You know, and then after she moved out, her other aunt said to me, Tiffany goes wherever Tiffany's going to reap the benefit.
So whose fault was that?
I guess mine, and it'll never happen again.
Right. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $886. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She was 18 years old, and I helped her, and she agreed to pay the bills and didn't.
I got the money back that I deserved.
She was out on the street, basically, with nowhere to live because her aunt chose not to let her come back home.
I did move back home actually in June of 2006, and I stayed there until I went to college.
Never. Again, will I let someone come into my home?
I trusted her and she lied.
Not again. I won't trust anyone.
I'm not really selfish.
I won't do anything for anybody anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Browning versus Cranford, step forward.
Brack and Marla Browning are suing their son's former friend, David Cranford Jr., for crashing their motorcycle after Brack asked him not to ride it. David insists he was given permission to take the bike.
Miss Browning, were you there during this incident?
No, I was at work.
So you don't know anything other than what your husband told you,
Well,
is that
David
right?
called me.
Why don't you have a seat? Okay. According to your complaint, Mr. Browning, Mr. Cranford, who is a friend of your son's, took your motorcycle. Your son was with him that day and rode it and crashed it. And you
Yes,
want him
ma'am.
to pay to fix it.
Yes, ma'am.
That seems like a relatively simple case. However, Mr. Cranford seems to feel as if it's everybody else's fault. So he's going to tell me about it. On what date did this happen?
It happened November 13th, I believe.
And where were you?
I was down the street from my home working.
What kind of work do you do?
I work for the Red Cross, but on this day, I was helping a friend of mine,
Doing what?
clearing brush, working on the farm.
And where was your son?
He was at David's house.
And he had gotten to David's house on the motorcycle.
Yes, that's what I
Is
understand.
that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up next to your phone. So tell me what happened on that day, Mr. Browning.
The boys came over to where I was working and asked if they could ride the motorcycle, and I told them no.
Who's they?
My son and David.
Well, your son was already riding the motorcycle.
I wasn't aware of that at the time. I was working down the street. They came and asked if David could ride the bike.
That's
And
David.
This is David. I told them no, that there was no insurance on the bike.
Why wasn't there insurance on the bike?
It had just lapsed a week earlier. It was late October. In our part of the country, it's very cold in the wintertime. We normally don't ride in the wintertime, so
So you don't have to pay for it during the wintertime.
yes, ma'am.
How did you get to David's house?
I had rode the bike down. At the time, we lived not too far from where he lived.
Did you have permission to take the bike out?
Yeah.
Who gave you permission to take the bike out?
Nobody. Normally, I just get on it and go.
Mr. Browning, had you told your son that the insurance lapsed on the bike?
No, ma'am. It had just lapsed a week before, and I didn't think I had to.
Well, you had to because he was using the bike.
Yes, ma'am.
So when they came and asked if David could ride the bike, you said no.
I said no.
And then what happened?
I went back to work. The boys were up at the street. Where I was working was several hundred yards off the street.
Well, then I assume you said it has no insurance on it. So what did your son say to you when you said it has no insurance?
At the time, it was David that came up and asked me.
I thought you said the boys came up.
They had called just a couple minutes earlier. They were right down the street. Frank asked me if David could ride the bike. I said no.
Just a second. Mr. Browning, we can't make things up as we go along, sir.
No.
The first story that, yeah, I know you're very polite, and that's very nice, but the first thing you told me was you were working clearing brush. The boys came up and asked you if David could ride the bike, and you said no because it has no insurance. Now you're changing that story. Now you want to tell me what the story is you're going to tell me now.
Frank had called me about 5 minutes earlier that they were down the street and that David wanted to ride the bike. I said no, and I think David talked him into coming down to where I was working to ask again.
Well, don't tell me what you think.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, who came up to where you were working?
Mr. Cranford.
Only.
Frank was there, but
That's what I want to know.
Yes, ma'am.
Frank was there. How did they get there?
David rode the motorcycle. Frank was following him in David's car.
So when you saw him, he was already on the motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you say?
I told them they shouldn't be riding the bike.
Why?
Because there was no insurance. David didn't have a motorcycle license, for one thing.
Did you tell your son that there was no insurance on the bike?
I believe I did. I was speaking...
Is that right, sir?
He may have.
I was speaking to Mr. Cranford at the time.
Well, it would seem to me if you saw that the bike was out, Mr. Browning, and if it had no insurance on it, and the reason you let the insurance lapse was because you were coming into the winter months, you would have said to your son, put that bike away immediately because there's no insurance on it, unless you were allowing him to ride it without insurance.
No, ma'am. They, being teenagers, even though Mr. Cranford's 27, he acts 17 like my son, and they argued with me. And I got upset that they wouldn't take no for an answer and went back to work. I wasn't going to stand there and argue with them.
Who was arguing?
Both of them were wanting to ride the bike.
What did your son say to you?
I don't recall, other than they were not taking no for an answer.
Do you recall?
I argued with him a little bit over the phone, and when he said no, we hung up the phone, and I told David what he said, and David said, well, let's ride across the street, and I'll ask him.
And when David said, let's ride across the street, did he get on the bike?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Mr. Cranford, you knew you had no permission to get on the bike.
Partially, yes, ma'am.
What do you mean partially? There's no partially. It's like being a little bit pregnant, sir. Either you have permission or you don't have permission.
Well, I didn't know I was a definite no yet. I thought it was
no. What does it mean? No. I want to tell you something. You better stay away from girls, sir. No means no. There's no halfway no. No means no.
Yes,
now,
ma'am.
if you're saying to me, I thought I could change his mind,
That's what I was thinking.
then you don't ride the bike there.
It was right across the street.
I don't care if it was right around the street. I don't care if it was from here to here. You didn't have permission to get on his bike.
Yes, ma'am.
And you crashed the bike.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how that happened, David.
I was traveling down 71, and it's
But
a
you
mountain.
had no permission to do that.
Well, at the time, Frankie come up at my house, and I had to go.
You already knew the word was no. Then you went up to change his mind. And what happened when you went up to change his mind?
From my understanding, when I was standing there, Your Honor, I didn't get a definite yes or no. It was just more like a I don't care kind of attitude. Is what,
He
the way I
already
took it.
told you no.
He didn't come right out to me and say absolutely no. He was just giving excuses of why not, you know, and
Well,
why
the
to.
answer. I was hoping he'd be as dumb in person as he was in his answer.
He's not disappointing you.
He's not disappointing me. Let's get to riding the bike and how this incident happened that rendered Mr. Browning's bike $5,000 in damage.
Like I said, I was coming down the mountain, and there's some twisty turns on it, and some of the people that drive, the local people that drive around through there, they travel really fast up through there, and a car was coming around the corner that I was approaching, and it came off into my lane, and I had to swerve to the right to avoid hitting a head-on collision and killing myself. And when I did, it's a crotch rocket motorcycle, and when it hit the grass, the wheel just turned, yanked on me, and it started flipping, and I rolled down the road about 55 miles an hour, flipping down the road.
You were flipping down the road 55 miles an hour? You
Yes,
must have
ma'am.
been going very fast, Mr. Cranford.
Well, the speed limit was 55.
Do you have a license to drive a motorcycle?
No, ma'am. I've got a driver's license, but not a...
Do you
I
need
didn't
a
realize I had to have a motorcycle license to drive. I figured it was just like a driver's license. I didn't even know at the time.
Well, how many times have you driven a motorcycle?
I've driven it a few times back when I was younger, but
But a what?
I haven't recently.
Well, if you don't drive a motorcycle for a long time and you don't have any special training, it would seem to me that despite the fact that the speed limit is 55 miles an hour, I would not, if I were prudent, Do you know what that means?
Yes, ma'am.
If I were prudent, I wouldn't go on a twisty, windy road where everybody goes very fast, because that's what you said, that you knew about this road that you were on, because you come from the area, so you know that everybody goes very fast. I wouldn't take a motorcycle that I had no experience with and drive on a dangerous road and go 55 miles an hour. Brown.
Yes, ma'am.
I got it. But I want to tell you something. You're going to have this bike fixed? Do you have the estimate to fix it?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the estimate to fix it?
Estimate comes to over $7,000.
I wouldn't let your son drive it again for a while, because he is complicit in this, despite the fact that he's 17 years old. And you are how old?
27.
Because he didn't have to let him ride it.
I feel like he was influenced by the older kid.
Well, Mr. Browning, that may be. But if you let him ride the motorcycle again and let him have it back, he hasn't learned anything from it.
I agree.
And if you're going to entrust what could be a weapon to a child's hand, you have to assume the consequences.
Well, my son's been through a motorcycle safety course. I sent him through that before he ever
doesn't know
rode
the
it.
word no.
Most 17-year-olds don't. And
Well, that's what I'm saying to you, Mr. Browning. But for the fact that your son let him ride this motorcycle, we wouldn't be standing here today. And that was very bad judgment on his part. Immature judgment. He could easily be swayed. This time he was swayed by somebody who's 27. Next time it could be somebody who's 14. And if it's somebody who's 14 and they get hurt on your motorcycle, you're not going to have a home anymore. Or a
they're
car,
lucky someone didn't get
or
hurt.
a motorcycle, or anything else. So, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. It's your fault. You got to say, my fault, my bad, my responsibility. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I got the phone call about 10 minutes after going back to work.
When I got down the road, the inevitable happened.
I was just scared.
26-year-old Tyrone Smith is suing his ex-girlfriend, 26-year-old Christy Bruffett, for lying about the paternity of her child. Tyrone claims Christy told him that he was the father.
All rise. This is case number 39, Your Honor, on the calendar in the matter of Smith versus Bruffett.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Smith, it is your claim that the defendant defrauded you and leading you to believe that you were the father of her child. You want attorney's fees and all kinds of compensatory damages. Ms. Bruffett says that you knew all along that you were not the baby's biological father, and she is counterclaiming for harassment and other stuff. I assume that there was a time that two of you were in a relationship.
Yes.
When was that?
2001.
Are you asking me? I wasn't there.
No, it was in 2001.
And when was your daughter born?
My daughter was born January 7th, 2001.
Were you together at the time?
Yes.
Yes, we were.
I'm going to go to you. Your answer suggests that Mr. Smith was aware all along that he was not the child's biological father. I'm going to hear your explanation with regard to that.
Yes, he was, Your Honor. We had started dating briefly when we were working together in December.
December of 2000?
99.
December of 99.
Yes. He had left Minneapolis and went to Chicago for what he said would be a brief period of time when we first started dating, in turn being quite a few months.
How many months?
He left towards the end of January of 2000. He did not return until close to the end of April of 2000.
Is that right?
No. Ain't no way Chrissy told me that little girl was mine, and I signed it.
Whether you went to Minneapolis.
No. I was working in Minnesota, so ain't no way I left.
Okay, keep going, Miss Bruffett.
My child was conceived at the very beginning of April by Matthew Moore. When he returned, it was the end of April. He had known of me and Matthew's relationship, but was
Don't tell me what he knew. Tell me what you said to him.
I had told him that I was in a relationship when he had came back from Chicago. Matthew, in turn, towards the end of May, had left and decided he was moving to Florida, and me and Tyrone had started dating again then. But he knew I told him that I was pregnant before he had came back from Chicago in a phone conversation.
Is that right, sir?
No, ma'am.
Doesn't sound right to me.
No, ma'am.
Keep going.
Okay. Up through the pregnancy, we were together, we were dating, all the way up and through my daughter was born. When my daughter was born, he had told me that throughout the whole time that he wanted to be a father to her. He would be that figure because Matthew was not going to return from Florida. Tyrone had told me that he wanted to be the one to step up to the plate. He would take care of her. We would be together. We had plans on being engaged or being married in the future, he had told me then that he didn't want his family to know he wasn't her father because they already did not approve of me and his relationship.
Yana, okay.
So at that point, we had decided that he was going to be her father figure. When she was born, I had told him that I wanted to leave the birth certificate blank in the case that Matthew were to ever return, and that was only fair. And he said that that wouldn't be viable to his family or mine. We argued back and forth about it.
How did this all play out then after 2001? That's what I want to know. Because right now, the child is 6 years old.
Exactly.
And so I want you to tell me, Mr. Smith, what happened 6 years later that brings you to court today?
Well, I was served papers for child support, and I hired myself a lawyer because I wanted
Who
to...
filed the petition for child support?
No,
He did, Your Honor.
She applied for welfare.
No, I didn't, Your Honor. I work full-time. I got papers in the mail being served that I was the defendant in a case regarding him taking me to court for visitation, and in turn meaning that he'd have to pay child support in our county in order to have visitation with my child. He brought the action, Your Honor. He is the plaintiff on both of these.
Well, there was a motion in Hennepin County for child support.
That was an action that he brought with
He brought
a
an
visitation.
action for what? For child support? To pay child support?
In our
You
county,
brought an
you have
action
to.
pay child support, sir?
No.
I never heard of that. I've been a judge for a very long time. See, Miss Bruffett, my problem is he's fighting the child support in this action.
Exactly.
He's fighting it. He doesn't want to pay it. He's saying, listen, I have no money left. You know, I have a 5-month-old baby. I live. Here's my rent. Here's my lease on my apartment. Here's what I earn.
Yep.
I can't afford to pay any more child support, so I don't get the fact that he petitioned the court for child support. Now, why do you keep looking for her, sir?
Ain't nobody looking for Chrissy.
You weren't looking for her?
No.
I have
For what
police reports
reason?
to that effect, Your Honor.
I'd like to see the police report, please. The only indication here that's interesting is he said he wanted to come over to see the child they have in common. And victim, that would be you, advised that he couldn't come over and that he's not supposed to be calling. So he said, I want to come over to see my daughter. And you said he couldn't. You didn't say it's not your daughter.
Ain't no way I called.
Shut.
Okay.
I do also have that actually in a court finding paper that when we were in court in front of a judge for this order for protection 2004, that I was very adamant through all of that she was not his child, and I just wanted him to leave me alone.
That I want to see.
That's all I've ever asked, is that he just leave us alone.
Sir, what I want to know is why you're here now in 2007 when in 2004 she clearly told you that you were not the father of this child.
Right.
She told you that.
Exactly.
3 years ago.
Yep.
What woke you up now?
What woke me up now was, I don't know, it took
Your
me,
Honor, he has been harassing me for 6.5 years. This is just another form. I'm sorry.
What woke me up, I don't know.
Well, why don't you say something to try to wake me up, sir? She told you at least 3 years ago. Listen to me. At least 3 years ago.
Right.
At least 3 years ago, she insisted before a judge that you are not the father of the child.
Why she didn't let that be known to the child support people then?
Listen, I don't see any of those papers. I mean, you don't have those papers. What you gave me were papers where, in the matter of the child, you are the plaintiff.
Exactly.
You're the plaintiff, not the county. You're the plaintiff.
Otherwise, Your Honor, he have papers to the effect of Hennepin County.
And that's
Tyrone.
July of 2006.
Exactly.
July 2006.
Listen, if you're going to agree with me once more, I'm going to throw you out and grant this petition. Do you understand?
Okay.
Good. I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm kind of lost too. You got me lost too.
Well, I'm kind of lost too.
Yeah,
I mean, you were told by a judge 3 years ago that she says you're not the father of the child. And now you want attorney's fees and court costs and everything else for an attorney that you just hired 3 years later in order to get visitation and have a blood test done, and you want the blood test done. She told you weren't the father.
Yana, I had to hire that lawyer because I didn't have an address. I didn't know how to serve her
Your
her
Honor, my
papers.
address is private from him.
She put an order of protection on me, so ain't no way I can get her address.
Exactly.
What did you need her address for?
So she can get served her papers.
What
for my,
papers?
For,
I don't want to hear you. Don't you get it?
To see, visitation
You know,
to see
I don't think that you're worried about him because you keep interrupting him. You know, if you were cowering and worried about him, as you indicate you are in your answer, then you wouldn't be freely contradicting him. Now, when was the last time, Miss Bruffett, that you alleged that Mr. Smith bothered you?
The last incident was the last job that I had to leave because of him when I filed for that last order for protection
Would you give
in
me the
2004.
date, please?
It was February of 2004.
Well, that's a long time ago. It's over. Put a period. Finished.
Yes.
Not a good idea, if I believe you, which I'm sort of on the fence about. Not a good idea to insert somebody else's name on a birth certificate that is not biologically related to a child. It confuses the child. Put your hand down. Do you understand?
I do.
Unfair.
I do.
Unfair. Look what happens. She go try to get a kidney from him. And what'll happen when she's 18? Ridiculous. Mr. Smith, you are finally free.
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Thank you.
I am. I dodged the aunt.
And Miss Bruffett would really like you to leave her alone.
Been there, done that. Long time
And
ago.
I think that you're going to leave her alone.
Oh, yeah. Been there, done that. I got a wife and a son that needs me more than anybody, you know.
Your case is dismissed. It's over. Finished. Put a period. So is yours. Finished. Over. It's dismissed. Goodbye.
Thanks, Your Honor.
What is our excuse, sir? Stay here.
This is just, like I said, another form, another way to get at me, another way to find me, seek me out.
Ain't nobody thinking about a big... Come on, now.
I'm sure there'll be something else in the future.
For some attention.
I wish him the best. Hope he's happy with his new family.
Kind of sad because I didn't get the money that I had to pay for that lawyer.
Just leave me alone.
But it's all good.
For fraudulently representing himself as a divorce attorney. She is asking for the return of his fee.
Miss Forsyth, it is your claim that the defendant fraudulently held himself out to be an attorney.
Yes, ma'am.
You gave him money in order to help you procure a divorce from your husband, and the papers were never properly filed, according to you. You want your money back.
Yeah.
Mr. Taylor says that he never told you he was a lawyer. He was trying to help you out and do you a favor, and he did everything that he was supposed to do, and you're entitled to no money back. How did you meet him?
Actually, I had seen one of his signs posted up on a telephone pole.
Can I see it, please?
During the time, I was being evicted, so I originally contacted him to help me with an eviction.
Okay, just a second. Shh. Is this your sign, sir?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
Okay. So you called him, and did he help you?
Yes. Yes, the eviction went through just fine, just as he promised. And shortly after that, I had contacted him to assist me in my divorce. And he said he could help me out. He did family law.
Did he have an office that you went to previously?
I never went to the office, no. He always came and met me places.
How much did you pay him the first time?
The first time, I believe it was $375.
For the eviction?
For the eviction, yes.
Now, when you called him and told him that you'd had a family law problem, did he indicate to you that he did that sort of work?
Yeah.
What did he say?
On the business card that I had, it listed family law as one of his services.
Do you have a copy of the business card?
I don't have the original business card that he gave me, but I do have a copy.
I'd like to see it.
And it does state attorney at law.
Where did you get this copy from?
On my contract, that address right there, when I went there looking for him when I was trying to get my money back, the leasing manager there, she gave me the copy of that business card. But that's the exact same business card that I had.
You recognize this card?
No, Your Honor, I don't. No.
Is this a copy of your contract, sir?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
And, Your Honor, I do have...
This says it is understood by all parties that Inland Valley Legal Service staff members are not practicing attorneys at law.
Yes. I read that after the fact, and then I saw his card, and I said, well, to myself...
No, you don't have his card. You have something that you claim somebody else gave
Exactly.
you, so you can throw that away. That's nonsense.
And Your Honor,
That's nonsense.
But I wanted to prove that he was also giving this business card to other people.
Listen to me. If you had the business card, that would be one thing.
I know.
But you don't.
I lost.
And this is something that somebody else gave you.
Yes, ma'am.
and Your Honor, if I may...
You may not. I'm not finished yet.
All right.
Now, so what you're telling me is you didn't read this before you signed it?
No, I did. And when I saw his business card that said attorney at law, I presumed, I know that is very wrong, but I presumed that he was the supervising attorney for Inland Valley Legal. And when I confronted him about what it says where his signature is at, the staff representative, why it didn't say attorney at law, he said it was a typographical error that his assistant made.
No, that's not true.
So, according to this, it says that you're signing on for these people, to paraphrase, to do all the paperwork for you, but they are not lawyers. You understand that they are not lawyers. They cannot represent you in court as lawyers. That you will be appearing pro se, which means yourself. Now, he was supposed to get papers together. Did he get the papers together for you?
He did, and he did not.
Just a second. Got the papers together for you.
Semi.
What do you mean semi? The only thing that wasn't done, according to what I read, was the fact that he prepared the papers for you if you're divorced, but your husband is in prison. Is that right? And that it's very difficult to serve someone in prison because you have to go through a whole process. You have to serve the warden of the prison, you have to serve the commissioner of corrections, all of that stuff. That's not something he was doing. That was something he told you to do. That's what he says.
No. That is something he told me to contact the prison, get the information where he needed to send it to, which I did. I told him that it needs to be sent to the litigation coordinator in the prison, and he sends me a proof of service by mail by the third time I went to court and said the first one didn't have the correct address on it, and the second one he had taken in there and wrote in there the rest of the information. And he said he was going to handle all of that for me.
Now I got it. So the problem was that the papers were never properly served on your husband.
Exactly.
And in order for you to be divorced, he has to be properly served.
Of course.
So now let us assume that if she didn't read these papers, that's her problem. That you've clearly made out in the papers that you are a staff representative. That's what it says, not the attorney in charge.
That's right.
She doesn't know how to read. That's not my problem. That's not your problem.
Exactly.
Okay. My problem is you undertook, and I believe her, to have these papers properly served on the defendant. You undertook to do that, at least on 2 separate occasions. What happened?
Well, by me not actually being an attorney during the divorce...
And I want you to understand something, sir. I'm smarter than she is. So if you're going to give me a lot of who shot John...
Oh, no,
I'm
going to make it very brief.
annihilate you.
I'm going to make it very
I'm going to
brief.
annihilate you.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Right? So don't try to smooth talk me like you can smooth talk them. It doesn't work. Okay. Right? I don't need anything from you, and I don't like you. Do you understand? Because I think that you take advantage of people.
Okay.
But let us see if you took advantage of this lady.
Okay.
Let's go. You tried to serve him once, and you had the wrong address, correct?
No, Your Honor.
Go.
When we went down to the court to file the documents for the divorce, I gave Miss Forsythe all of the copies of the documents in order for her to have her husband served because she informed me that he was incarcerated. I informed her that it would be impossible for me to serve him by him being incarcerated because the only person that would be able to go to the prison would be an actual attorney to see this man.
That's not true.
Well, that was my understanding.
Well, that's why you shouldn't be giving out legal advice, sir. That was your last mistake. That was your last mistake. That was legal advice that you just gave her without looking it up in the books. Because every jurisdiction has a provision for how prisoners are to be served. And you don't have to be his wife in order to serve him.
Exactly.
And you don't have to be his lawyer in order to serve him. That's what you have process service for, or you have proper service that can be done by mail. You may serve in person the commissioner of prisons. You may serve the warden of the prison. Do you understand, sir? So you gave her legal advice. And by giving her legal advice, you practiced law without a license. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Wasn't that simple? How much money did she pay you?
I believe she paid me a total of $325.
How much money did you pay her?
$425, you have the receipts.
$425.
Yes, ma'am.
$425. You have to give that back to her, sir, because by making that simple statement to her, here are the papers, you have to have him served because somebody has to go up there and serve him personally because I can't go up there. You gave her advice, and it was wrong advice. Just prepare the papers. That's what you're entitled to do.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $425.
Thank
you.
You were never meant to hear this. Not here. Not now. And certainly not like this. Because behind the white marble, pillars of ancient Greece, the birthplace of democracy, philosophy and reason, there is a shadow that no history book dares to illuminate. It's not in the statues, not in the poems, It's buried behind the eyes of forgotten boys, draped in silk, laced with perfume and trained to obey. They were beautiful, and that was the curse. In ancient Greece, beauty wasn't protection. It was bait. And if you were a boy born with a perfect face, soft voice and wide eyes, you weren't cherished. You were claimed, not by love, but by power, not by family, but by older men who saw your youth as currency. This wasn't the periphery of Greek culture. It was embedded deep within it, defended by scholars, glorified by statues, and immortalized in myth. They called it paiderastia. But don't let the Greek syllables fool you. This wasn't mentorship. This wasn't education. It was exploitation wrapped in robes of respectability. These boys, some as young as 12, were called Eromenos, the beloved. But it wasn't love. It was compliance. Because in a society obsessed with dominance, submission was shame. And the shame always belonged to the one on their knees. They served in symposia, naked, painted, and adorned like trophies. They played the lyre, poured the wine, and when the doors closed, they fulfilled duties never written in the plays of Euripides, but echoed in the silent screams buried beneath centuries of polished stone. And the worst part? This system was not hidden. It was institutionalized, normalized, and passed down by philosophers we still quote today. Plato, Socrates, even Aristotle turned a blind eye. Because to the elite, these boys weren't people. They were ornaments, possessions, playthings. You see, Greece wasn't just the cradle of civilization. It was the cradle of quiet cruelty. And the world inherited both. So now that you've opened this door, don't close it. Because the deeper we go, the more you'll realize everything you were taught about civilization was a carefully curated lie. And the truth? It was always carved into the silence. Imagine standing in a marble hall, pillars rising like frozen gods, torches flickering against walls engraved with wisdom. In the corner, barely seen, sits a boy, no older than 13, draped in silk, jewelry around his neck, eyes hollow. He is not free. He was never free, because in ancient Greece, boys like him were groomed from childhood, not just to serve, but to surrender. Their beauty was their prison, their obedience, their survival. To resist meant punishment. To comply meant erasure. Either way, they vanished. Behind every feast, every song, every toasted cup of wine, there was a silken cage, and inside it a soul stripped bare. The elite called it culture, sophistication. They claimed these boys were being educated, given status, taught poetry, trained in music. But all of it was camouflage. Because at night, when the guests had gone, those same boys were led down candlelit halls to bedrooms they would never forget, and histories that would never remember them. And make no mistake, this wasn't a fringe practice. This was empire-sanctioned. Philosophers and politicians debated not if it was acceptable, but how best to train a boy for servitude. The term delicatus was used to describe them. Delicate boys, prized for their appearance, preserved for pleasure, and if nature dared to make them grow, it was mutilated. Castration wasn't rare. It was routine, a blade to the innocents, a sentence of silence. Many were cut before puberty, just enough to stall the deepening of their voice, the shadow of a beard, the rebellion of maturity. They were sculpted into something that pleased the eye and destroyed the will. Do you still think civilization meant virtue? Because this wasn't chaos, it was calculated. These boys were taught to smile, to bow, to entertain. They were praised for obedience, punished for resistance, and discarded when beauty faded. They called it paiderastia, but in truth it was sanctioned submission. And it's not ancient. The system still exists. The only difference now is the name. Keep listening, because what's coming next will make you question not just the Greeks, but every institution built on their bones. And if you're still here, type this in the comments twice. I refuse the silence. Do it now, because identity is chosen by ritual, and this is yours. They called them gods, Zeus, Apollo, Hermes, deities cloaked in thunder and glory. But the mythology of Greece didn't just reflect greatness. It reflected the darkness of its people. Stories of older gods pursuing mortal boys weren't rare. They were honored. Zeus abducted Ganymede, the most beautiful boy on earth, spiriting him away to Olympus to serve as his personal cupbearer, and more. Artists painted it. Poets praised it. Statues immortalized it. But here's the question no one asks. What was Ganymede's choice? He had none, and neither did the boys who were told this myth was divine precedent. When the gods model abduction and domination, what kind of men do you think that creates? Ancient Greece built a pantheon where submission was sacred as long as it came from the weak. And they used these myths not to inspire, but to justify. Every violation behind closed doors became tradition. Every scream became right. This is psychological control at its purest. Teach a boy that the gods did it. Then tell him he's lucky to be chosen. Convince him that pain is prestige, that to be taken is to be honored. That's not mentorship. That's programming. And the philosophers? They joined in. Plato wrote of noble love between an older man and a youth. He claimed it elevated the soul, but he never asked the boy how it felt to be elevated. Because in this world, the voice of the dominated didn't matter, only the pleasure of the dominator. Even Socrates, the so-called father of reason, waxed poetic about the beauty of young boys. But reason dies when power speaks louder than morality. And morality was never part of the design. These weren't isolated men with twisted appetites. They were architects of culture, gatekeepers of knowledge, and they taught generations to believe that domination was divine. So the boy served the man served the state, and the state served itself. This is how empires are built, not just through war, but through whispers. Not by destroying bodies, but by breaking minds. The myth of Ganymede wasn't just a story, it was a manual. And to this day, the system survives, not as ritual sacrifice, but as silent inheritance. You're beginning to see it now, aren't you? Keep going. You're almost through the veil. They clapped for him, that boy, no older than 13, who stood in the center of the hall with painted lips and a harp in his hands. They clapped for his song, his smile, his silence, but no one clapped when the door closed, because the performance never ended. It only changed stages. In ancient Greece, obedience wasn't earned, it was bred. Male concubines were taught from the moment they were taken, how to stand, how to walk, how to serve. Their bodies were rehearsed like plays, their expressions memorized like scripts. And when they were perfect, they were put on display, not just for pleasure, but for politics. To possess a beautiful boy wasn't just indulgence, it was status, a symbol of refinement, a statement of control. Men displayed their concubines like others displayed wealth. But make no mistake, it wasn't affection, it was branding. In symposia, the boy served wine to guests who debated honor, justice, and courage, while staring at the back of his neck like a feast, and he had to pretend not to notice. Because the price of resistance wasn't just pain, it was disappearance. They were not lovers, they were investments, tools to be trained, used, and discarded. And if the boy faltered, if his voice cracked, if he resisted, if he grew, he was replaced. But the tragedy wasn't just in what was done to them. It was in how they were made to feel responsible for it. Every punishment was masked as discipline, every demand framed as devotion. If you loved me, you would. If you honored the gods, you'd obey. It wasn't brutality, it was brainwashing. This is the heart of elite. Manipulation. Make the victim feel grateful for being chosen. And the boys did. Because what choice did they have? Their families were often complicit, selling them for favor. Or gone, lost to war, poverty, or betrayal. These boys had no names, only roles, no rights, only responsibilities. And the longer they served, the more the mask became the face. They weren't just taught to act. They were taught to forget they were acting. And many did. The theater of obedience became a life sentence. Dressed in gold, perfumed with lies. So when you see paintings of ancient banquets or hear scholars praise Greek Enlightenment, remember, there was always a boy in the corner, watching, waiting, surviving. But not living, not really. They say beauty is a gift. But in ancient Greece, beauty was a curse disguised as a compliment. Especially if you were a boy, because the more perfect your face, the more delicate your features, the more likely you were to be noticed, not by admirers, but by predators, not for your mind, but for your silence. There was no sanctuary, not in the temples, not in the homes, not even in your own body. Boys with soft skin and symmetrical faces, were marked long before they understood what the attention meant. They were cataloged like rare art, admired, selected, then stripped. And once chosen, the transformation began. Your childhood was over, your voice trained, your movements choreographed, your identity erased. You'd be adorned in fabrics meant to feminize you, soft, flowing robes to accentuate your fragility, perfumed oils to mask the smell of boyhood, makeup to blur the line between innocence and invitation. And when puberty came, if it came, you'd be mutilated. Castration wasn't taboo. It was strategy. It prevented the betrayal of time, because to them, beauty meant control, and the moment your voice cracked or your jaw sharpened, you threatened the illusion, so they cut you. Not just physically, but existentially. You were no longer a boy, not yet a man, just something in between, a living artifact, a possession designed to remain unchanged, desired but never respected, displayed but never defended. And this wasn't punishment. It was policy, a system so refined, so embedded into the elite culture, that even the victims began to see themselves as chosen. That's the final cruelty of it, to make you love the cage, to make you think the chain around your neck is a necklace, because when you tie a boy's worth to how well he pleases, he'll spend his life chasing approval, never understanding he was worthy without it. And when his beauty fades, he disappears. No records, no legacy, just silence. You won't find their names in the scrolls, but you will feel them in the cracks of marble, in the myths no one questions, in the hollow smile of every statue that looks just a little too young, a little too perfect. This is what happens when a civilization worships perfection but crucifies innocence. And we haven't even reached the darkest part yet. There was no dignity in the transaction, just silver coins on a stone table, a nod from the seller, and a terrified boy led away by the hand of his new owner. This was the marketplace of ancient Greece, not just a place of olives, scrolls, and pottery, but of people, of boys, of flesh. And within these markets, male concubines weren't rare. They were product. Some were war captives, taken from conquered lands, stripped of name and nation. Others were sold by their own families, traded for debt, survival, or ambition. And some were born into it, sons of slaves raised with only one destiny, to be owned. There was no audition, no negotiation. If your eyes were wide and your face smooth, you were marked. And once bought, you were trained, not to think, not to speak, but to serve. They called them pies, the generic word for boy. But in this context, it meant much more. It meant property. It meant compliance. It meant silence. And for the elite, owning such a boy was a status symbol more potent than any statue or estate. You didn't just display your wealth. You displayed your will, your capacity to possess beauty and bend it. Concubines weren't just for the bedroom. They were instruments of social power. The more desirable your boy, the more envious your rivals. And just like a rare artifact or a prized steed, your concubine could be loaned, flaunted, or punished for failure to entertain. This wasn't intimacy. This was economics. A boy could be sold multiple times before reaching adolescence, each master branding him, if not on the skin, then on the soul. And with each sale, a little more of him disappeared, until only the performance remained. And even that had an expiration date, because beauty fades. Even fear loses its edge. And once that happens, you're no longer profitable. Some were discarded, some were sold into harsher roles, and some, when deemed no longer worth the food they consumed, simply vanished. Unrecorded, unburied, unmourned. This is the truth that ancient historians sanitized. This is the shadow behind the columns and lyres and symposiums, a world where the most beautiful were broken for sport, and the youngest were prized for how little they understood. The marketplace didn't just sell boys, it consumed them. They told the world there were laws, that Athens was civilized, that justice was blind, that even the weakest among them were protected by scrolls and courts. But those laws, they were masks, thin veils over brutal hierarchies. And when it came to male concubines, the laws were written in disappearing ink. Technically, it was illegal to rape a freeborn boy. Technically, adult male penetration of another citizen was punishable. But the word technically is where every lie begins, because those laws didn't apply to slaves, or foreigners, or boys who didn't have fathers to speak for them in court. In truth, protection was a privilege reserved only for the well-connected. For everyone else, the system was the predator and law was just its perfume. Take the Lex Scantinia, a Roman law borrowed from Greek tradition. It banned certain sexual acts, but only to preserve the dignity of citizens. Not the dignity of children, not the dignity of slaves, not the dignity of concubines. The boy draped in silk, castrated to preserve his beauty, forced to pour wine and recite poetry to men who had already purchased his silence. He had no legal name, no civic identity. He was an object, and the man who owned him, immune. The state didn't intervene. It facilitated. Some boys were even offered to military officers as rewards. Others became gifts in political exchanges. Their bodies weren't just accepted in elite circles. They were expected, and those who dared speak against it, silenced, not just with threats, but with ridicule, shamed as weak, as ungrateful, as enemies of culture. The philosophers who praised these practices masked cruelty behind euphemism, mentorship, education, love. They cloaked abuse in the robes of morality. This is psychological warfare, when oppression wears the face of honor. And this is how civilizations lie to themselves, by crafting laws that protect only appearances, by pretending justice exists while trafficking in silence, by teaching generations that harm, if old enough, becomes tradition. The boy standing in the marble courtyard, perfumed, costumed, afraid, was not protected. He was paraded, and no scroll, no courtroom, no philosopher ever gave him back what was taken, because the system didn't fail him. It was designed for him to be sacrificed. The marble halls echoed with poetry and praise, but never with protest, because to speak was to shatter the illusion. To name the abuse was to challenge the gods. And in ancient Greece, silence wasn't just survival. It was demanded. The concubines didn't scream. They couldn't. They were trained to entertain, not to resist. Conditioned to smile through humiliation, to recite verse while being watched, to thank their masters after nights that shattered their innocence. Their pain wasn't hidden. It was ignored. And that's the genius of elite control, when you no longer need chains, because shame does the work for you. A boy in silk doesn't need a cell if he believes he deserves the cage, and society made sure he did. Art glorified him. Statues celebrated him. Myths immortalized him. But none of them saw him, not as human, not as a soul, just as a symbol, a beautiful reflection of another man's power. And when he broke, they didn't bury him. They replaced him. This silence wasn't just local. It was inherited. Rome absorbed the practice. Byzantium buried it, and the church rewrote the history altogether, replacing names with demons, facts with doctrine. The concubine was erased, his suffering folded into parable or heresy. But here's the thing about silence. It never truly disappears. It echoes. In every institution that rewards obedience over truth, in every system that masks abuse behind prestige, in every culture that demands the body of the young to satisfy the ego of the old. You've seen those echoes. You've felt them. In corporations, in politics, in the unspoken rules of power. This isn't just history, it's a template. The elite didn't forget how to silence the beautiful and vulnerable. They refined it. Now it wears suits, signs paychecks, runs nations. And you watching this, you weren't supposed to notice. But now you do. And once you see the system, you can't unsee it. Because beneath every golden institution, there is always a basement. And in that basement, there's always a boy who was told he should feel honored. While being broken in silence, they never left a record, not because they didn't exist, but because someone made sure you wouldn't remember them. No names, no gravestones, no legacies, just silence where a scream once lived. That's the final stage of control, erasure. When the victim doesn't just suffer, but is forgotten. When their story becomes so uncomfortable, so damning to the image of power, that it's scrubbed clean from the archive. That was the fate of the male concubine. Not martyr, not rebel, not even cautionary tale. Just deleted. History will speak to you of heroes, of Socrates, of Alexander, of Pericles, but it will not speak of the boys who stood behind them, who poured their wine, who entertained their guests, who shared their beds. Why? Because their presence exposes the truth. that even the enlightened built their glory on subjugated bodies. That civilization as you know it, this grand, gleaming empire of the mind, was founded not on justice, but on hierarchy. And when a man speaks of virtue while violating the vulnerable, he must bury the evidence. So the concubines were painted over, replaced with myth. Some were turned into gods, like Ganymede, ripped from earth to serve Zeus forever. Others became anonymous muses, ghosts in marble, fragments and footnotes. But even ghosts remember, and their silence lives in our institutions today. You've seen it in schools that protect the predator, in churches that hide the record, in governments that punish the whistleblower, not the abuser. It's the same blueprint, just modernized. The victim is always too young, too poor, too voiceless to be heard. And the elite? Too insulated to fall. This is not a Greek problem. It's a human one. Power consumes. And unless it is challenged, it forgets what it's devoured. So if you feel anger rising now, good. If you feel grief, even better. Because that means the silence didn't win. Not with you. Type it again in the comments. I refuse the silence. Twice. Because the ritual isn't complete without a vow. And if you're still here, you're already changing. You're not just watching a video. You're remembering a truth that power once erased. You made it. Through the marble. Through the myth. Through the silence. Now we stand in the last chamber, where no torch burns, no historian dares enter, and no monument was ever built. It's not made of stone. It's made of memory. The kind passed down in shadows, not scrolls. This is where the real truth lives. That civilization, as you were taught to admire it, was built on a lie. A beautiful, poetic, whitewashed lie. Because behind every golden statue of a philosopher was a trembling boy. Behind every symposium of great men, a servant too afraid to speak. And behind every law carved into stone, the body of someone it refused to protect. You were told that Greece gave us logic, that it gave us democracy, that it gave us beauty. But what it really gave us was hierarchy disguised as harmony, a world where those who dominated were glorified, and those who obeyed were erased. A world where intelligence was praised only when it protected power, where abuse was refined into ritual and ritual into tradition. And what terrifies them now, those who still sit atop modern thrones, is that you're remembering it. Because when a man begins to see, truly see, he becomes dangerous. Not violent, not reckless, but ungovernable. He stops believing in the stories that justify suffering. He stops kneeling to the institutions that dress abuse in robes of respectability. He stops accepting silence as wisdom and obedience as virtue. This story was never just about ancient Greece. It's about now, because every time a man wakes up to the machinery of domination, the machine shudders, and you're awake now. So what will you do with that? Let the algorithm hear you one last time. I refuse the silence. Not just in the comments, in your life. Refuse it in the conversations no one wants to have. Refuse it in the lies you were told about history, about power, about who you're allowed to become. Refuse it in the way you see yourself, no longer as someone meant to serve, obey, or fit in. You're not theirs anymore. You don't belong to the systems. You belong to the truth. And the truth remembers everything. What if I told you the powdered wig wasn't a fashion statement? It was a mask, a deception. And the ones who wore it, they were hiding something they could never say aloud. You weren't supposed to know this. You weren't supposed to ask, because beneath those clouds of white powder was rot. Rot of the body, rot of the mind, and rot at the very core of society itself. The image you have of powdered wigs in candlelit ballrooms, powdered faces sipping wine in Versailles, is a fabrication, a polished illusion sold to history by those who controlled the narrative. But behind that image was a silent plague, one that gnawed at the flesh and dissolved identity. Syphilis. It didn't just destroy the body, it unmade reputations. One balding patch on the wrong man's head could unravel an entire lineage of aristocracy. Because in the 17th century, appearance wasn't just vanity, it was currency. And if your hair fell out, you were bankrupt. So they powdered, they puffed. They perched elaborate constructions of false hair on top of skulls, riddled with sores and scabs. And they called it fashion. But this wasn't about style. This was about power. Because when a man loses his health, he loses control. unless he builds a new face, one so perfect, no one dares question the truth behind it. And they did it well. They built masks so convincing that entire empires forgot what disease looked like. So convincing that centuries later, you still think of powdered wigs as elegant. But it wasn't elegance. It was desperation. It was damage, disguised, powdered, and paraded. And the kings made it law. Because when the rot starts at the top, the whole court starts to stink. And instead of cleaning it, they sprayed perfume on the corpse. You think this is history? No, this is a warning. Because even now, you wear masks, you hide wounds, and the institutions above you, they taught you how. They always have. And this powdered fantasy was just the beginning. They called him the Sun King, Louis XIV of France, glorious, radiant, divine. But what they don't tell you is that even the sun can hide behind clouds. By the time Louis was 15, his hair was falling out in clumps. Not from stress, not from age, but from something darker, something unspeakable. Rumors swirled through the corridors of Versailles. Il est malade, they whispered. He's sick, but kings do not get sick. Not in public, not in the age of divine right. So Louis did what every great manipulator does. He didn't fix the problem. He buried it in beauty. He commissioned 48 personal wig makers, 48 artisans, not to create style, but to fabricate perfection, layer by layer, strand by strand. They didn't build hairpieces. They built an illusion so powerful, it rewrote reality. His wigs weren't just accessories. They were architecture, massive, towering, curling constructions that distorted his silhouette into something godlike. They extended his presence in every room. They commanded silence. They screamed, "I am whole. I am eternal." But it was a lie. And like all royal lies, it became law. The nobility followed suit. If the king wore a wig, you wore a wig. To reject it was to reject power itself. So a nation shaved its heads and wore masks, not for health, not for beauty, but for control. And the real disease? It wasn't syphilis. It was performance. A performance so precise that even the sick looked strong. And the damned looked divine. Do you see it yet? This wasn't fashion. This was a ritual of deception, a daily costume to conceal the empire's rot. Louis didn't just redefine style. He redefined truth. He turned pain into pageantry, decay into divine right, and his court followed like lambs in powdered fleece. But here's what no one tells you. When you mask weakness to project strength, you don't become powerful. You become addicted to illusion, and every illusion needs protection, guards, rules, secrets, which means every man wearing a wig was also wearing a muzzle. Speak too freely, and your wig, your status, your identity could be stripped. So they stayed silent. And in that silence, the system thrived. You weren't allowed to say the word. Not in court, not in public, not even in whispers. Syphilis. It wasn't just a disease. It was a verdict. A man marked by it was seen as tainted, morally, spiritually, politically. His skin might survive, but his reputation wouldn't. So they built an empire of silence. And in that silence, the disease spread, unspoken, untreated, undenied. What started as a sore became a sentence. Skin peeled, noses collapsed, hair fell in patches, exposing more than just bone, exposing guilt. Because society didn't see illness as misfortune. It saw it as sin, proof that you had done something, touched someone, gone somewhere you shouldn't have. They didn't fear the sores. They feared what they said about you. So men who once strutted with pride began to disappear into shadows. Not physically, socially, unless they hid. And that's what wigs were, not adornment, armor. A full powdered wig could cover lesions, mask baldness, and erase suspicion. It didn't heal the body, but it healed perception. And in a world ruled by perception, that was enough. But let's speak clearly now. This wasn't just vanity. This was survival. Because to be exposed was to be erased. The powdered wig became a seal of normalcy. Put it on and you were whole. Respectable, clean, even if the scalp beneath it was rotting. And beneath that deception, something more dangerous was growing. Control. You see, once society ties morality to appearance, those who control the appearance control the morality. They tell you what is noble, what is shameful, what is allowed to be seen. They weaponize beauty and punish the visible signs of decay, even if they cause the decay themselves. This is the mind trap they built. To question the system was to question the mask. To question the mask was to reveal what lay beneath. And what lay beneath? Fear, not of the disease, but of being seen. And when a society fears being seen more than being sick, you know the sickness is in the soul. If this is making you see the world a little differently, comment I remove the mask twice. Once for the world, and once for yourself. You know what they never told you? Wigs were crawling with lice. Not just one or two, but infestations, tiny kingdoms of parasites feeding off powdered royalty. Because underneath the perfume, the lavender, the orange blossom, was filth. The truth is, most of Europe stank. Hygiene wasn't a routine, it was a luxury. Baths were rare. Scalp infections common. Combs weren't sterilized. They were shared. And yet the higher the class, the taller the wig. The more powder, the more perfume. It wasn't about cleanliness. It was about covering decay. They shaved their heads bald underneath. Man, woman, priest, politician. Why? Because it was easier to boil a wig than clean a human head. Think about that. Entire aristocracies were walking around in ornate, scented disguises. Fake hair, fake scents, fake skin. The wigs were treated like relics, sent to specialists who would boil out the lice, recurl the fibers, powder them with starch, chalk, even plaster of Paris. Then they'd douse it in oils, citrus, rose, bergamot, and return it to its wearer as if it were reborn. But nothing had changed underneath. The head was still diseased, the skin still inflamed, the infection still pulsing. All that changed was the illusion. They walked through Versailles like porcelain dolls, untouchable, divine. But the truth? They were decaying in disguise. And here's where the sickness deepens. This ritual of cleansing the wig became symbolic. As long as the wig was clean, the man was clean. As long as the hair was powdered, the soul was pure. They created a world where performance was virtue, where the illusion was more sacred than the body it hid. And we still live in that world. You wear products to cover fatigue. You curate photos to erase reality. You smile while your mind screams. And when you're breaking down, you reach for powder. Not the kind made of rice or starch, but the modern kind. Filters, titles, distractions, brands. You're not wearing a wig, but you're still covering lice. The powdered wig didn't die. It just changed form. And now you wear it on your screen. Here's what the elite never saw coming. The blacksmith, the merchant, the tailor's apprentice. They started wearing wigs too. At first it was subtle. Small curls, modest powder. A mimicry, a quiet rebellion. But it didn't stay quiet. By the 1700s, powdered wigs weren't just for kings. They were on bakers, soldiers, clerks. The streets were filled with silhouettes of aristocracy, worn by men who had never seen a throne. And that terrified the elite. Because when everyone can look like royalty, royalty loses its face. Imagine a nobleman in Versailles, powdered to perfection, stopping dead in his tracks, when he realizes the man crossing the street in the same white curls is his blacksmith's son. The illusion broke. Because if power is only recognized through appearance, what happens when the poor start copying the mask? It becomes a crisis of identity. The aristocracy, built on visual distinction, was being visually overrun. So what did they do? They escalated. The wigs got bigger, taller, wider. They added feathers, ships, jewels. Some wigs became so elaborate they needed metal scaffolding to stand upright. It was no longer about fashion. It was a war, a symbolic arms race between those who owned power and those who dared to look like it. The elites were no longer hiding disease. They were hiding fear that their monopoly on status was cracking, that their image could be imitated, their identity counterfeited. So they pushed back. They passed laws. They formed guilds. Only licensed wig makers could craft the real thing. Only the right fabrics, the right powder, the right scents. Gatekeeping went mainstream. This wasn't about hair. It was about hierarchy. Because in a world ruled by symbols, to control the symbol is to control the system. And wigs had become more than masks. They were crowns, disguised as curls. And the message was clear. You can play noble, but you'll never be noble. But the fire was lit. And what happens when enough men wear the crown without permission? The system starts to burn. It started with whispers, then pamphlets, then blades. By the late 18th century, Europe wasn't just powdered. It was pressurized. Too many men wearing wigs they didn't earn. Too many nobles hiding decay behind silk and starch. And too many commoners waking up, realizing the crown was nothing more than costume. The illusion was cracking. And in France, it shattered. The revolution didn't begin in blood. It began in mirrors, when men looked at themselves, powdered, perfumed, proper, and saw pretend kings. They had mimicked the image so long. They started to believe they deserved the throne, and maybe they did. Because if power is perception, then whoever controls the mirror controls the kingdom. The guillotine didn't just sever heads, it severed symbols. One by one, wigs fell into the baskets beside their owners. Powdered curls soaked in blood. Perfume tainted by the stench of rot. The wig couldn't save them. Not the nobles, not the clergy, not the architects of illusion. For centuries, they built their status on a lie. That appearance equaled virtue. That scent masked sin. That fake hair meant real power. But when the mob came, they didn't ask about your tailor. They didn't care about your powder. They looked at you. And the masks, no matter how expensive, burned just like everything else. That's what they never understood. Deception has an expiration date. Every mask eventually rots. Every illusion eventually collapses. And when it does, the man underneath is forced to stand naked before history. No powder, no perfume, no protection. Just skin, just bone, just truth. The revolution wasn't just political. It was psychological. It was a mass unmasking. And once the wigs came off, so did the fear. The people had seen what was underneath, and they couldn't unsee it. This isn't just history. It's prophecy. Because every empire built on image will face a moment when the image cracks. And when that day comes, no amount of powder will save the ones who hid behind it. You think it ended in the 1700s? You think powdered wigs are relics? Portraits? Dust? Look closer. You're still wearing one. Not on your head, but on your identity. You don't powder your scalp. You filter your face. You don't hide sores. You hide weakness. You shave down your truth and lace it with curated fragments. Carefully constructed posts, borrowed thoughts, polished smiles, all designed to perform strength, while you bleed underneath. The powdered wig never died. It evolved. Now it lives in the boardroom, in your dating profile, in every "I'm fine" when you're drowning, in every silence where you should have screamed. Because somewhere along the line, you were taught that vulnerability is a threat, that perfection is protection, that the mask is more lovable than the man beneath it. But here's what they never told you. The longer you wear the wig, the more it grows into your skull. And just like the kings, you'll wake up one day unable to separate the illusion from the self. And that's exactly how they want you. Controllable, predictable, muted. Because a man too afraid to be seen is a man who will never rebel. So they teach you shame. They monetize your insecurity. They whisper, just one more filter, one more title, one more wig, and you obey. But now you know. You've walked through the disease, the lies, the empire built on powdered deceit, and now you're standing at the edge of it all, wig in hand. So the question isn't, did they manipulate us? It's, will you keep wearing it, or will you do what they feared most? Strip it off. Show the scars. Let the world see who you really are beneath the powder, the performance, the polite smile. Because only then can the illusion die, and only then can you begin, not as a king, not as a pawn, but as a man no longer hiding. So if this truth reached you, deep in the marrow, comment it again. I remove the mask, twice. Once for the man they silenced, once for the man you're about to become. This was never about wigs. It was about freedom. And the powder was their leash. Now break it and walk out clean.